Kodomomuke is one of 5 categories that describe how Japanese animation is delineated. These delineations or types of anime are used to market to a specific audience or population, be they girls, boys, younger, or older. Now, among the 5 types of anime, Kodomomuke is rather unique. Kodomomuke is a Japanese word that can be translated to intended for children, and that is what Kodomomuke is all about. It's anime that is for children. Now, many consider all anime to be for children, but specifically, Kodomomuke is intended for persons under the age of 13. Kodomomuke generally feature child protagonists rather than teenage or adult protagonists. These characters, and by extension their stories, promote moral lessons. Usually these lessons are about values like friendship, a standard in many kinds of anime, teamwork, forgiveness, and kindness. These values in particular because child anime is generally believed to be more inherently about teaching and education, and things the very young must learn. Therefore, Kodomomuke tend to favor episodic programming rather than serialized. In this way, the stories are more self-contained and it is easier to communicate a moral lesson in one episode as if reading a fable or some kind of morality tale than if that lesson arced an entire season. Some of the most popular Kodomomuke include Pokemon, Digimon, Doraemon, Beyblade, Yokai Watch, Pretty Cure, Astro Boy, Hamtaro, Magical Do-Re-Mi, and Jungle Emperor Leo. Now, all of these Kodomomuke include shows like Pokemon or Pretty Cure that have overarching stories, but although they have serialized aspects, they are primarily episodic programs, with each episode usually being about a specific lesson or journey that one character or another has to learn or go on. One should also notice a couple of other things about any list of Kodomomuke. You should remember that toddler age to 12 is a pretty large bracket, so some Kodomomuke skew towards younger audiences and some skew towards older viewers. One of the primary features of Kodomomuke is that they're generally lighthearted and about fun and often meant to be funny. It is a general stereotype of anime that they're usually overly dramatic or feature, more often than not, storylines that are very heartrending or beautiful. But this is not true for Kodomomuke. Kodomomuke is the type of anime that can be as zany and energetic as Western animation. Still, Kodomomuke does have its fair share of drama. Drama in Kodomomuke is much the same as any anime. You'll see the typical big superhero and villain fare, with people taking over the world or threatening peace. However, you'll also see really interpersonal stories about learning to trust, making amends, and finding the confidence to keep going. And Kodomomuke, like most anime, takes itself pretty seriously. The lives of the characters and their personal dramas, be they about jealousy or self-esteem, aren't undermined by their comedic beats. So when a character cries or smiles, you tend to feel it with them. However, for as dramatic as some Kodomomuke get, there are some boundaries they tend not to cross. Kodomomuke is child-focused, so in general, when we talk about under 13 anime, we're talking about programs that don't feature obvious or overt romances or overt displays of human death. Romances in Kodomomuke tend to be hinted at rather than stated outrightly. They're most often crushes that are usually left unfulfilled, and that the two never become a couple. However, the crush does usually have some type of satisfying arc, and that although the pair doesn't become a couple, they do reciprocate some manner of positive feelings or even mutual affection, yet tending not to show overt displays of sexual or romantic attraction like kissing. Romance is a type of relationship that tends to be more mature and strays a little from the demographic and the intention to focus on learning and more virtuous character traits like friendship. other hand, is handled with a little more directness. Death is something that characters eventually have to deal with. Being there for a friend who has been touched by death is a common occurrence even for children. But in Kodomomuke, deaths tend to take place off-screen or in the past. Characters aren't likely to experience death in their present journeys or even in a serialized fashion, usually leaving it to one-off episodes. However, when death is present in the narrative, it usually isn't of humans. Magical deaths tend to be far more common than realistic human deaths in Kodomomuke. Non-human characters being destroyed or killed, or human characters who disappear due to magic are far more common. Most likely, when it comes to human deaths, you'll see flashbacks of things that happened to characters in the past and how that grief persists, rather than seeing a character actively respond to the human death of a loved one. Now, so far we have summed up what the Kodomomuke genre is in anime. It's for children, an under 13 demographic. It's fun and funny. It's about teaching lessons and is usually episodic. It has drama, but tends to stay away from overt romance and realistic death. However, there are some genre benders out there. Every production has a different aesthetic or narrative voice, and despite how much we'd like to draw within the lines, there are programs that tend to blur them. One such show is Cardcaptor Sakura, and its most recent incarnation, Cardcaptor Clear Card. This is a Kodomomuke, but how it strays beyond the genre's general boundaries is in the realm of romance. Cardcaptor is a very romantic IP, and despite its adherence to the typical traits of Kodomomuke, being very episodic and usually having a lesson in each episode, the efforts that the show makes to embody romance is quite deliberate. Although the show doesn't do anything as banal as having one character outrightly declare that another is their boyfriend or girlfriend, there are clear couples, and it is often stated even indirectly that they are together, like Sakura and Sharon, and Toya and Yukido. In this way, Cardcaptor tends to approach what's called Shojo anime in its romanticism. Still, for as much as shows like Cardcaptor blur the lines of genre, as well as other Kodomomuke like Astro Boy and its use of action or violence, the term is a useful way to describe the unique colors it brings to anime as a whole through its storytelling and lessons. Kodomomuke is the funny, heartwarming, thoughtful, kawaii animation that all audiences can love. Shonen anime is termed from the Shonen Jump magazine, a Japanese magazine that features manga or comics that are marketed towards young male readership, from ages 12 to 18, although sometimes defined as skewing a couple years younger. Shonen is enjoyed by all audiences, both male and female viewers alike, but caters to the male view through its storytelling, archetypes, and themes. The male view, as it relates to this demographic of viewers, focuses on some universal themes with a particular perspective. Like many anime, shonen focuses on action and adventure, often as the subject matter of its content. Some of the most masterful scenes of fight animation have been brought to life through shonen anime. Shonen also thrives on drama. In shonen, the drama is usually focused upon dramas that are more externalized. The main character will often be tasked with something that is much greater than himself, with stakes that impact others. These tasks that are at the heart of most shonen lead to various types of psychological and interpersonal conflicts that lend themselves to great storytelling. However, even though most modern stories feature these types of themes or appeals, shonen focuses heavily on these themes through the male view, and by extension, their coming of age.
There is a hero right before our eyes.
The coming-of-age narrative for a man is age-old and differs greatly from the coming-of-age narrative of a female character. For male characters, coming of age represents mastering the self and taking on personal responsibility, a biological feature that all men must confront on some level in life, which exists even within the animal kingdom, is that males tend to be more isolated, will have to compete, often with others of their sex, and also tend to parent their offspring less compared to females. Therefore, the coming of age of a male character often features in shonen that character confronting themselves, their thoughts and attitudes about themselves or the world, battling their own limitations. Often shonen feature characters that have no observable talents or abilities, somehow defying the odds and becoming the greatest through some personal struggle, and taking responsibility for something other than themselves, like of a child, or of people they love, and becoming less isolated and bringing trusted friends into their lives. This coming-of-age journey is often depicted in anime with characters that have one or more inactive parents, either deceased or away, which allows the main character to fully take on the responsibility of guiding themselves and becoming the man or person that they need to be with the absent parent, acting usually as a catalyst for some type of personal development. Additionally, as shonen embodies the adolescent demographic, shonen anime begin to show depictions of sexual attraction between characters. Often sex and sexuality in shonen is played for laughs, often characterized by blood coming from the nose or blushing. It also lends itself to more mature relationships that the characters have with one another, both platonically and romantically. Shonen tends to make meaningful contrasts between sexual infatuation and noble romanticism by displaying romantic feelings through acts of service and genuine concern. In this way, it helps the audience and the primary demographic understand the important lesson that although sexual attraction is natural and common, it isn't the same as love. Shonen anime represents the man's coming of age in many respects, but to most viewers cosmetically, shonen is often about action and adventure in terms of genre and friendship in regards to its theme. Other characteristics of shonen may include various rival characters, power scaling systems, and battling often dark forces, feminine or female influences, often romantic but sometimes not, and training. Most shonen conform to these traits, like Naruto, Kuroko's Basketball, Bleach, One Piece, My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, and Dragon Ball Super. However, there are some programs that bend some of the common signifiers of the shonen category. One such program is Komi Can't Communicate. Komi Can't Communicate is an outlier most notably because it is also a slice-of-life program. The main character isn't trying to save the world, nor is this show about action and adventure. It is about the common goings-on of regular life. However, although the show is ultimately about the self-actualization of a female character, it is also that of the male lead. It is about how he learns compassion, attraction, and how he comes of age by taking responsibility for someone other than himself. In this way, this program focuses on the romantic and social aspects of the coming-of-age journey, and of course, although this show is about Komi, it is depicted from the male perspective. Additionally, there is A Promised Neverland. This is a brilliant show and a shonen, but by and large, the main protagonist is a female character. Indeed, despite the shared presence of her two male counterparts, the show most often presents itself from her perspective. Yet, although a female character is the protagonist, like many other shonen, the show thematically represents the male demographic. A Promised Neverland is very much about saving the world, battling dark and demonic forces, and also about friendship, and the ability to rely on friends to band together to reach a goal. In terms of the character's relationship to their surrogate mother Isabella, realizing she is an enemy, this story places itself squarely within the absent parent trope of most shonen. Additionally, the program throughout depicts the conflict that comes from taking care of yourself and giving up, or taking responsibility of the safety of others. So whether depicted through a strong female lead or a slice of life, shonen represents all that is vital and important to a young man's self-actualization, but still, a category of anime that any can enjoy, regardless of gender. Shojo is a Japanese marketing segment which can be translated to maiden or girl, that caters to a female audience. The primary demographic of shoujo anime or manga are female viewers of about 12 to 18 years of age. Shojo has a number of unique features that distinguishes it from other marketing segments as well as from other content that seeks female viewership from groups like Western audiences. Like all Japanese marketing segments, Shojo has a number of features that provides nuance to this category in a way that creates a sense that it is not only a marketing segment, but a genre unto itself. In particular, although it is generally accepted as girls' anime, shoujo is often enjoyed by people of all ages and genders. Furthermore, the notion that shoujo itself is solely about what it is to be a girl is somewhat of a misnomer, as on a deeper level, shoujo explores the feminine. All things that are exist on some type of a spectrum, so as it is juxtaposed by shonen, which examines the essence of the male audience, shoujo does the same for the female. So while shonen might explore adventuring beyond one's limits and self-determination, shoujo explores the inner self, and rather than vision, the fortitude of one's virtues. These virtues being the substance of who you are and what you do without a vision of where you want to be, or of the choices you want to make. In terms of the more aesthetic aspects of the shoujo, the ideals of shoujo are often depicted in slice-of-life programs that explore the mundane, like day-to-day living, but shoujo is not foreign to programs about action or adventure. However, one theme that is often associated with shoujo is magic, as the magical girl is a key archetype in the shoujo brand. The magical girl, which has had many incarnations, is seen as early as the 1960s. It depicts a girl that with the aid of her magic transforms into a being of great power. In this way, the magical girl speaks to some inherent power, something derived from the inner self that gives her strength and power, something she has to tap into rather than something that she has to achieve. These aspects of the shoujo depicted in various genres of anime can be seen in some very popular programming, like
In the Name of the Moon!
Sailor Moon, Card Captors, Fruit Baskets, Tokyo Mew Mew, Magic Knight Rayearth, Natsumi's Book of Friends, Ouran Host Club, Yona of the Dawn, Rainbow Days, and My Love Story. Now, of the most commonly known traits of shoujo, romance is the most ubiquitous. Romance as the most common feature of shoujo is depicted primarily through shoujo's genre. Of the many genres of shoujo in existence, most of them are romances, or at least slice-of-life programs that have romantic themes. As a genre, romance focuses on the love of two or more people and how those feelings overcome adversity. Often misunderstandings, lack of confidence, and propriety in more grounded slice-of-life genres, and sometimes alien or mystical forces in the more action or fantasy shoujo series in hopes of finding the one that is most important to them. On a fundamental level, although this romantic preponderancy is attributed to its marketing category being for girls, the truth is more accurately described in that shoujo itself isn't for girls exactly, but rather the feminine. As previously discussed, there is a spectrum that exists in the realm of all things, and in this case, marketing between girls and boys. If the hero's journey is the outward-facing masculine journey and examines self-determination, the feminine journey is one that is inward and examines community, such as who is the protagonist to herself or hisself, and how should the protagonist exist best in relation to other people. Shoujo examines such concepts as not so much an aspect of what it is to be a girl or girl-like, but as an aspect of the feminine and therefore all of the themes that would exist on that end of the spectrum of masculinity and femininity. Which is why relationship and queerness are common themes and tropes in shoujo that juxtapose themselves to the more individualistic themes of masculinity.
気楽にやりましょうね。旦那様のお姉様が私なんかに教えてくださるなんてとても光栄です。
Shojo's use of relationship as a theme is far deeper than the friendship aspects of relationship as depicted in most shonen, for instance. Shojo looks to embody or reveal relationship in its totality and isn't bound to either platonic relationships like friendship or even romantic relationships. In their use of relationship, they illuminate the complex ties of the human experience. The rival relationship, the mentor-mentee relationship, the step-parent relationship, the ex-romantic friendship, the boy lolly, and the strong silent type. All these types of unusual and peculiar ties are what Shojo goes to in order to examine the human experience. The angle at which Shojo uses relationship is also far more analytical. Not only does Shojo often show the arc of friendship and how, with great care, relationships evolve and change, it also breaks into the mind of each character. It is very common to allow each character to have time in episodes based around their character or arc to pull focus from the main character to illuminate their story, as in many anime. But in Shojo, it is often the practice to allow multiple characters to regularly have first-person internal and external monologues of their own feelings throughout the series. You'll be given as intimate and timely responses as what one character thinks and feels about the actions or even gestures their scene mates are making, through shots that catch the most minor of reactions for the audience, or even internal thoughts and dialogues. The level at which and the care given to these depictions of relationship are almost religious. They seem to have an ethos that could be described in terms of a connection to restore a life, much in the same fashion as aspects of Eastern religions, which seek in ways to reform the self to a clean or natural state, but also in some ways like Western religions, which in biblical practices, despite also focusing on compliance and ritual, describe the true and full religion as loving others as yourself, doing for others, particularly those who are less fortunate, like those imprisoned or poor. Shojo does this in a similar fashion, as it pours a lot of character development into the journey that one character will guide another character through, to reach some type of fulfillment or peace or stability.
Don't throw that on the ground. Honestly.
Thank you, Hachiko.
Shojo in its depictions also highlights the presence of queerness as an aspect of the feminine, as queer identities are both less rigid and more relational than heteronormative identities. They would fall closer to the feminine ideal. Moreover, Shojo from its inception has made queerness, i.e. non-conforming gender and sexual identities, a hallmark of their stories, often making a point of challenging heteronormativity, as seen as early as the 1960s in The Princess Knight, who not only changed from a princess to a knight, but also did so while altering her gender and becoming a man, essentially, while doing so. Today, Shojo showcases a panoply of gender nonconforming depictions, same-sex romantic relationships, which also account for many of the world's first mainstream animated depictions, and general depictions that exist as indifferent to the cultural hegemony of heteronormativity. Now, of the many variety of shoujo in the world, it would be easy to assume that shoujo are quickly identified by their focus on female depictions and protagonists. Yet, many shoujo have males as lead characters, like Natsume's Book of Friends, an anime about a boy who seeks to unbind the spirits whose names exist in a book he got from his mother. And although some shoujo starring male characters are about romance, Natsume's Book of Friends is not, but rather reconciliation, an extension of relationship. So whether starring men or women, shoujo are the stories that appeal to the feminine, the vastly important, but more intangible, fluid aspects of the human condition like relationship, identity, and romance. Like the world we live in, shoujo is more personally challenging because instead of with the power of will, it attempts to tell stories of conflicts that are resolved through reconciliation, a longer and often more painful avenue. Shoujo are feminine in their design and cater to the girl, but with dynamic and nuanced depictions, are programs that all can enjoy.